Hello everyone, my name is Blackwatch and welcome to another episode of my Rainbow Six lore series. I see you guys have been enjoying these lately, so please feel free to leave a like and subscribe if you're interested in seeing more, or if you want to see some of my guides that I also produce for Rainbow Six. There's a reason why Jackal's unique gadget is focused on tracking his opponents. Ryad Ramirez Al-Hassar was born in Ceuta, an autonomous Spanish city on the North African coast, bordering Morocco. From a very young age, Ryad and his brother Faisal were entered into foster care, passing from one bad family to the next, until his brother finally came of age and pulled them both out of the dysfunctional system. Finally freed from the fostering loop, it seemed that things would finally turn around for the brothers. That was until the 8th of October 1985. In an abandoned house, Faisal was killed by an unknown assailant. With no witnesses or evidence, the police concluded that this case was just a tragic instance of street violence, and that the culprit would not be found. The events of that night and the harsh emptiness of their conclusion burned a deep trauma in Ryad's mind. He blamed himself for his brother's death, believing that, had he chosen to leave quickly and tried to track the killer, he could have brought him to justice. Ryad's trauma triggered a new obsession with patterns he observed around him, granting him the ability to detect even the smallest irregularities in these patterns, the key gift possessed by the greatest trackers. The ability to see those few bent blades of grass among the thousands untouched, the gradients in the mud made by weight and not weather. Where some would see a gift, Ryad saw only necessity. In his eyes, his lack of action and expertise had cost him everything. Seeing the young boy's trauma and sensing his desire for justice, an officer within the police corps mentored Ryad through the tragedy, helping him to form his own investigation into his brother's death, and eventually calcifying his pursuit of justice into a tangible reality as he enlisted into the corps at the age of 18. He flourished in his new role, growing quickly into an exceptional officer, yet every crime he solved did little to settle his obsession. Now that he'd found himself embedded within the police, his drive to find the murderer turned from a righteous obsession to an unhealthy affliction. Ryad's skills allowed him to progress into the upper echelons of his field, joining the GEO Special Operations Group. His exemplary tracking abilities saw him tasked with the hunting of high-value targets and narcotic shipments, but it emerged quickly that any cases he couldn't resolve, or any targets that escaped his grasp, left him with a traumatic sense of failure that was all too similar to that he felt when his brother was taken from him, and would render him close to inoperable as he struggled to cope with what he saw as a very personal failure. He mourned his failure to solve his brother's murder before leaving the police corps, and developed severe insomnia that plagues him to this day, leaving him vulnerable to the side effects of his fatigue. These side effects acted to make him unstable as an asset. Muscle weariness and hallucinations weren't uncommon, particularly when his insomnia had been harsh. Nevertheless, Jackal found himself a new home in Rainbow. His insomnia, now closely monitored, would still prove to be a challenge, but a challenge that he might slowly overcome. Harry saw the potential for Jackal to fill in some of the gaps in his life, and encouraged his successful return to the police corps as a lecturer and instructor. Where his mentor before him had found his potential and fostered it, Ryad now had the chance to pay back that kindness. These conversations with Harry seemed to be even more successful, as he's now chosen to volunteer with at-risk youths, taking an active role in improving the lives of those who had suffered through difficult upbringings, just as he and his brother had. His trauma and his guilt aren't gone, and they likely never will be, but with like-minded people around him and a culture ready to strengthen his emotional weaknesses and offer him a life beyond his obsession, it seems that Ryad may finally be able to live a life in the present and not in the past. Yet it seems that the future still has another place that we are now starting to see unfold. With Nighthaven finally breaking away from Rainbow, it seems that Jackal is taking more of a forward-thinking approach to this particular conflict. Joining the initial squad tasked with following up on details given over by Azami, the newest recruit to Team Rainbow, he's now the tracker with Hibana that's going to work to figure out what is going on with Nighthaven and why their weapons are being used against Rainbow operatives in the field. I hope you enjoyed this episode, everyone, and I hope you look forward to learning more about the backstories of the various operators in Siege, and about the events that are now starting to really unravel in our faces when it comes to Nighthaven and Rainbow and the future of that particular conflict. I hope you've had a good weekend, everyone, and I hope this week is fantastic for you. Do pobачення, everybody. Bye bye.